It is the 41st millennium. For more than 100 centuries, the Emperor has sat immobile on the golden throne of Earth. He is the master of mankind by the will of the gods, and master of 1,000,000 worlds by the might of his inexhaustible armies. He is a rotting carcass writhing invisibly with power from the dark age of technology. He is the carrion lord of the Imperium, for whom 1,000 souls are sacrificed every day, so that he may never truly die. Yet, even in his deathless state, the Emperor continues his eternal vigilance. Vast armies give battle in his name on uncounted worlds. To be a man in such times is to be one amongst untold billions. It is to live in the cruelest and most bloody regime imaginable. These are the tales of those times. Forget the power of technology and science, for so much has been forgotten, never to be relearned. Forget the promise of progress and understanding, for in the grim dark future, there is only war. There is no peace amongst the stars. Only an eternity of carnage and slaughter, and the laughter of thirsting gods. Damn, bitch, y'all live like this? What's going on, guys? Cygnus Jason here with Gameside, and the greatest days in your life are upon you. The post-launch period of Warhammer 40k, Darktide. While it may have its quirks, my enthusiasm casts an all-consuming light over the shadows caused by bugs and structural inconsistencies, and I hope the same goes for those of you who have been playing it. Without further ado, let's kick things off with a look at the developer, Fatshark. Founded in 2008, Fatshark is a Swedish game development studio. Apparently, they're best known for their involvement with the PS3 and Xbox 360, with games such as Lead and Gold, Gangs of the Wild West, Bionic Commando Rearmed 2, and Escape Dead Island. In 2015, they dropped the first entry into the insanely fun Tide series with Warhammer End Times Vermintide. I myself didn't jump on board until Warhammer Vermintide 2 released in 2018. Between then and the release of Darktide, the notorious multinational technology and entertainment company, Tencent, acquired a 36% stake in Fatshark, with that rising to a majority stake 2 years later, costing Tencent around $306 million when all was said and done. A drop in the bucket for them, I'm sure. Since Darktide was announced in July 2020, it hit a few delay-worthy snags along the road to release, the first of which was caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. After 3 delays, I'm just glad the game is here, although not without some issues, which we'll get into later. Darktide's story is intertwined with the overarching narrative of the worlds of Warhammer 40k. The God Emperor of mankind is our savior, and it is your privileged duty to skullfuck any man, woman, or demon that thinks otherwise. Heretics come in all shapes and sizes, so you'll have to create a character and choose a class that best suits your style of slaughter.
Easy now, soldier! Don't set them all!
Drills and kills, yeah?
First, there's the Veteran Sharpshooter, which is as close as you can get to standard FPS rules. This class is designed to fight at range, with feats focusing on ammo conservation as well as making the most out of critical hits. They use a frag grenade, and their class-specific weapons include the Power Sword and plasma guns.
A credit to your regiment, veteran. It ain't all faith. Fury's useful, though.
Next, we have the Zealot Preacher, who is the embodiment of the Emperor's wrath.
Faith is our mighty weapon.
The Zealot's place is at the front of the group, slicing or crushing enemies with frightening mastery. Their feats make it easier to remain up close and personal with enemies and grant buffs at certain low health intervals. Zealots use stun grenades, and their class-specific weapons include two-handed chainswords, thunder hammers, and the Flamer.
A testament to the power of faith.
Right beside the Zealot, making sure he may continue to toil in the light of his grace, is the Ogryn Skullbreaker.
You would do well to copy the Ogryn.
Ogryns are twice the size of any human enemy, and 3 times as tough, meant to act as tanks, as evident by their class-specific weapons including the Slab Shield, Grenade Gauntlet, Heavy Stubber, and now that I think about it, pretty much all of their weapons are unique to them. And Ogryn can also dish out just as much damage as they can take. Their feats focus on being the backbone of the squad, with an easier time reviving down teammates, damage reduction or attack power buffs for allies in coherency, and doing what he does best, breaking skulls. A testament to an Ogryn's intelligence, their grenade sees them take out a box full of grenades and huck it full force at a single enemy for massive damage. It is insanely fun to use.
Just doing my duty.
Last, not least, and certainly despised the most by anyone that isn't one of them, is the Psyker Psykinetic. A Psyker wields the raw energy contained within the home dimension of the Chaos Gods, called the Warp, and sends that energy blasting at whatever's in front of them, or sometimes at themselves if they're not careful. Their class-specific weapons are the Force Sword and Force Staves. Both of their class weapons use the Warp to attack in some form or fashion, and their grenade is actually an ability that can pop the head right off almost any normal enemy. Psykers have to manage what's called Perils of the Warp, displayed as a percentage anytime you use Warp abilities. If you hit 100% peril, you explode, dealing big damage to enemies in your immediate vicinity, but being downed in the process.
Thank you.
Psykers have a small health pool, so their place is at the back, using their abilities to lessen the sudden impact of enemy hordes, or to brain burst a special enemy before it ensnares a teammate.
Trust is our most valuable currency. I hope I earned yours.
No action can compensate for the curse of your freakish nature.
In Vermintide 2, the game launched with all 5 playable characters having 3 different classes they could unlock at certain levels, which would allow for, and bar the use of, different weapons, as well as provide an entirely new selection of skills for the player to utilize. Much later in the game's life, Fat Shark began rolling out a 4th class for each character, in the form of paid DLC. Darktide currently has 4 classes, each with a skill tree identical to the ones found in Vermintide, so I have to believe that once the game is out for a bit, when bugs have been eliminated and issues have been resolved, Fat Shark will create new subclasses and add new weapons for each base class. Once you settle on a class, it's time to build your character. First, the planet your character hails from. Planet of Origin dictates certain available appearance options for your character, and what events you can choose that shape your character into who they are at the time the story takes place. Once your backstory is decided, you can edit your character's appearance. Character appearance can be changed later on, but not your voice or personality, so make sure you are 100% on board with how your character sounds.
Life without faith is mere existence beneath the all-consuming shadow of heresy.
Lastly, you can choose the reason why your character landed in lockup on a prison ship, and then start the prologue where you escape the ship.
You're actually not bad at this.
Hatred never tires.
Make it to the Morningstar, the game's central hub, and undergo actual training in the Psychonium to learn the ins and outs of the game, from team play mechanics down to weapon functions. There are many more weapons than what I mentioned before, and picking the right one for the job plays a big part in being able to complete a mission. Some melee weapons, like the axe, are built to pierce armor and deal high damage to a single target, while other weapons, like the Devil's Claw sword, are meant for crowd control of unarmored enemies. Some guns burst fire, some have large mags and high spread for crowd control, and some have smaller mags while being suited for long-range engagements. No matter what weapon you own or want to own, you can inspect a weapon to figure out where its strengths and weaknesses lie. At a glance, you can just compare the 5 distinct modifiers of one weapon to another, quickly determining if the weapon you want to bring into your arsenal is worth the coin. If you ain't got time for all that, weapons also have a simple rating, which really just serves as a numerical tag to let you know if one weapon is better in overall quality than another. Weapons can be bought from the Armory Exchange, which rotates stock every 60 minutes, or upgraded at the Shrine of the Omnissiah. The only upgrade mechanic currently available is Consecration, which can add new perks for minor bonuses or a new blessing for a more substantial buff. Curios are basically accessories, with characters being able to equip 3 Curios by level 24. Curios provide bonuses such as maximum health increases, increases to the amount of wounds your character has, maximum stamina increases, and so on. There is no armor in Darktide, which I enjoy, and clothing and outfits are purely for cosmetic purposes. Everyone knows you can't go out clapping heretical cheeks without the proper drip. Cosmetics for weapons or clothing can be bought from the Armory Exchange or at the Commodore's Vestures, which is the premium shop. Some character-specific cosmetics can be unlocked through penances, which are basically achievements that only a specific class can gain. Some of them demand that you depend fully on your teammates to help you achieve the penance, and some of them just outright ask for a once-in-a-blue-moon occurrence. The more difficult ones have been a topic of discussion in many posts on the forums, so I'm sure they'll get a rework later on. You know who you can be and what you can do. Now let's look at where you can do it. The mission terminal allows you to hop into a most likely ongoing mission via quick play, or you can pick a specific mission with a special condition such as increased horde spawn or decreased visibility or secondary objectives to collect. If you're a glutton for punishment, pick a mission with both. There are currently 7 mission types: assassination, strikes, repair, disruption, investigation, raids, and espionage. I won't lie to you guys, the narrative of the mission types, as in your reason for carrying them out, are different enough, but they will all involve you and your squad mates killing many enemies.
There's no end to it. It's like some horrible time.
Put it this way, there's an achievement for killing 50,000 enemies and I'm just over halfway there. If that doesn't sound like a good time to you, then these games may not be your cup of mostly drinkable water. Now, once you load into the mission, there's no minimap, but the path is fairly linear, so you'll usually always know what direction to go. Enemies, whether hordes of trash mobs or special interference types, can spawn at any point, but all the bad stuff has an audio cue that plays before it, so if you're listening, you'll know what's coming and what direction it's coming from.
Bring in the fly!
Thrown the damn thing's dead.
When special enemies spawn, they can easily turn a good game bad with one attack. A trapper or a dog can lock an ally down, prompting someone to go save them, only to also get killed. Then a sniper could get one shot off at another ally, either gravely wounding them or just immediately downing them on the higher difficulties. Your team is scattered, coherency breaks, and you die. Squad communication is key, meaning you can tag special enemies that need to be prioritized over all else, ping health or ammo pickups for allies in need of either, or designate a point to group up if teammates wander off the mission path, which they tend to do. Looking in the lower left at you and your group's statuses can inform your next actions. Health is self-explanatory, but the bar above it, as well as this symbol here, are important. The blue bar is your toughness, which dampens direct damage to your health. I actually found a forum post from a dev which outlines the mechanic nicely, which also alluded to a possible rework in the future. Being in close proximity to teammates means you have squad coherency, noted by this symbol here, and that means everyone's toughness will regenerate at a much improved rate. Full coherency means 100% regeneration rate, and anything less will mean less regeneration. These increments on the health bar note how many wounds a player has. When you get downed or when you sustain enough corruption damage from certain enemies, you will lose a wound. When you are downed with only 1 wound remaining, you will die. After a short timer, you will respawn somewhere ahead of the rest of your team, able to be rescued once they reach you. Wounds can be healed by using an activated Medicae station. Pro tip, Medicae stations can hold a maximum of 4 charges, 1 for everyone, but a lot of them will have less than 4 charges available, so allow the person with the least amount of health or the most wounds to heal first. The same goes for ammo pickups. Glancing down at your team's statuses will tell you who is low or out of grenades or ammunition, so don't just steal all of the ammo every time.
Oi! The rest of us need some friggin' ammo as well, you know.
Oi, don't you tell me what to do.
You are a team, and only teams that function like teams can effectively continue to labor in the Emperor's name. Mission completions reward XP, Ordo dockets, and the currencies necessary to use the Shrine of the Omnissiah. If you gain enough XP to level up, the game will also notify you of any classifications of weapons that you now have access to. The mission terminal, as well as difficulty levels, have been a hot button issue for the majority of the player base since the pre-launch beta, and it's too volatile to go into full detail about now, but the gist of it is, first, once your operative reaches level 11, you unlock Sire Melk's Requisitorium, which allows you to take on a certain number of contracts per week in order to gain special currency to purchase higher rarity weapons from his private stock. Weekly contracts may require you to do something like collect a certain number of a certain type of secondary objective in a certain mission. With the finite number of missions available at any given time, your mission may not come around often, or just not when you are able to play the game, causing you to make small, if any, progress towards completing the contract, and ultimately missing out on the big payout for completing all weekly contracts. Second, the level requirements to access missions of higher difficulties is far too low. Level 5s queue for missions where, realistically, you should be above level 15, meaning that mission is pretty much doomed to fail. Not to mention, the difficulty spikes and reward payouts for mission completions of each difficulty needs to be reworked. Fatshark has been pretty attentive to most of the issues that plagued the pre-launch beta, so I'm hoping they stay on top of things just as much in the post-launch landscape. All that being said, I'm having an absolute blast playing Darktide. The combat is smooth, bloody, and easy to get immersed in, especially with the banging soundtrack. Despite the many varieties of enemies and combat situations, the balance between melee and ranged combat is beautifully maintained. There are still a few issues left over from the pre-launch beta, such as session connectivity or random crashes related to some GPUs, as well as, playing games on Windows 11, which everyone should know not to do by now. Persistent issues are disappointing, but none of them had really prevented me from completing the Emperor's work. Steam users have for sure not been kind to the game, but they have a tendency to overreact, so take each negative review with a mountain of salt. If you are not sold on Darktide, go play Vermintide 2. It's still a lot of fun. The flow of combat is identical to Darktide, so being good in one means you will be as good in the other, and it's been out for a few years now, so the experience as a whole is more refined. Vermintide 2 is available for $30, while Darktide will only run you $10 more. For those that don't know, Vermintide is based in Warhammer Fantasy, whereas Darktide is based in Warhammer 40k, meaning spaceships and lasers and shit. As far as game time goes, it took me about 50 successful missions, important distinction, to make it from level 1 to 27, and the maximum is 30. Standard single objective missions take anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes to complete, depending on difficulty. With that in mind, I'd guesstimate it would take you a bare minimum of 25 hours just to get a character to level 30. Add in penances and achievements, if you're into that, and extra mission objectives, and multiply that by however many characters you plan on creating. Vermintide 2 would take considerably longer if you sought to complete it in any real sense. No matter what game you choose to play, once you start enjoying them, the hours will fly by. I also recommend bringing friends because, as always, co-op is more fun than solo. Darktide's platform availability is a little murky. It won't be on previous gen consoles, that much has been said. It's currently on Steam and the Microsoft Store, as well as the Xbox PC Game Pass. There is no word on when or if the game will come to PS5, and no word on when the Xbox Series X or S release will happen, at least none that I can find. Vermintide 2, on the other hand, is available on the last gen consoles, the Xbox Series X and S, as well as PC. That's all you need to know about Warhammer 40k, Darktide. Did I answer any questions you may have had about the game? Did I leave out anything important? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more like it. And make sure you hit that little bell icon so you can be notified of every new upload. This has been Cygnus Jason, and if the Beneficent Emperor wills it, I shall see you on the field of battle.